Welcome everyone to episode 2 of our Dynatrace community practices. We kicked this off recently with Dani, who showed us his tips and tricks. Today I invited the next guest. Julius, welcome to the show and thank you so much for showing us what you do on a day-to-day basis with Dynatrace.
Yes, thank you, Andy. It's a pleasure to be here in this observability clinic with you.
Yeah,
I'm happy to share some of my tips I run across my journey with Dynatrace.
perfect. Can you maybe just let people know what you do in your day-to-day job?
Yeah, sure. I'm a consultant at Alanata. So we are a Dynatrace partner in Slovak Republic. And I'm working with customers in Slovakia and Czech Republic to embrace Dynatrace and to deploy Dynatrace, consult with them what issues they have either with deploying or with optimizing the applications and all this stuff.
Perfect. Perfect. And thank you so much for sharing your best practices. So folks, if you're listening in, there's going to be 3 tips and tricks. If you want to fast move forward in YouTube, we have the timestamps on the bottom so you can easily move around. If you're completely new to Dynatrace, you can also get access to Dynatrace. Just follow the bit.ly DTSAS trial link or go to the website, enter the trial. There's also other episodes like this. So check out the YouTube channel or go to university.dynatrace.com for also more educational material. But this today, Julius, is about you. Let us know what you have prepared for us.
Yeah, sure. So, what are you going to learn today? I have 3 topics prepared. The first one is about REST services, about REST endpoints, and how we can actually fine-tune the REST request naming for those services and to get it deployed as best as we can. Then we have another 2 topics. One is about RUM troubleshooting. How can we troubleshoot if the user monitoring is not working? What can we do before we actually contact Dynatrace support, and we save us a lot of time with troubleshooting our application and what is going wrong with monitoring them from the user's perspective. And then we have a 3rd tip about synthetics, and actually it's about validating PDF content in synthetics. Wow. So are my 3 tips for today, and I think we are ready to go for the first one.
Yeah.
This is about some kind of automatic naming for REST services and how to do it, I think, with the best practice. So what is actually automatic naming for REST services and what is request naming in Dynatrace? So the request naming is a very important feature in Dynatrace. It's about identifying same operations on a service. So if you have, for example, an HTTP service, it has some URLs, but you mostly want to identify the same operations. So the URLs might be unique for each call, but you need to identify the same operations so you can actually work with those kind of requests in a way by analyzing the data, doing dashboards, etc. So there are some built-in namings, for example, for some common frameworks such as Spring, but this is not always possible. Some of the frameworks do not provide that name, or Dynatrace does not have yet this support, or maybe you want this naming to be somehow modified on, for example, on a web server. The web server does not know about some operation and also only sees the URLs. So you have the option to use the request naming rules in Dynatrace, and these rules are applied when the requests come in, and it will help you to generate the proper request name and use it then within Dynatrace. So what are the REST services? This is commonly seen in applications, and these typical patterns and the URL patterns are, you have some kind of numbering. For example, you have a GET request to customer and his ID. You have some, for example, an PUT request, for example, on shopping cart, or shopping cart number, an update, for example, on one item. So you have these kind of URLs, and what you want to do, you want to actually set up a naming rules how these requests will not be unique, and they will be somehow filtered, so it's actually named properly. You can identify, for example, adding, modifying a shopping cart item in this example, or, for example, getting information about the customer. So the request name will be then defined by those rules. This is quite a common operation when deploying Dynatrace across your applications, but sometimes you run into some challenges. For example, in the microservices world, and you have many services when these rules need to be applied. Yeah, this luckily this can be somehow solved by Dynatrace as well. But also, if you have multiple Dynatrace environments like the Dell Staging Pro or more of them, then, and also in a microservice environment, it's really challenging to do it on each service. Actually, it's not something you want to do. So I have put up a community post about how you can leverage the global request naming to do the REST URL cleanup. So what are we going to do now? We are going to set up some global request naming rules, and these rules will be applied to the services we choose. And these rules are quite generic, and they just will extract the prefix and postfix. For example, if you have just one ID, one numeric ID in the request, and they will then rename or name this request in this format. And for example, if you have two IDs, you have another rule to extract the prefix, infix, and postfix, and just construct the request name. And what we want to do is to apply these rules by some text. So we can define where these rules should be applied. For example, to my microservices or across some environments or some groups. And optionally, we can use Monaco to deploy it. Also, there is a Monaco project just in the Dynatrace community post here, and where you can download it. You can just deploy it simply into your environment, and then you can just set up attacks. So now I will show you how this works in a real world. So I have set up a very simple environment. I have one host here running, and this one has a Spring Boot application. Actually, it's a reactive Spring Boot application. As you can see here, it has one service. There are some requests coming in, and what we want to see here, as you can see, we have requests to get an employee data. You can see employees and number of the employees. So this is something when you see, you need to fix, and you want to set up some naming rules for these requests, and you want to have it as just one kind of operation about getting the ID removed. So when you go to the community post, you can see the pretty detailed description about the regular expression we need to extract. I will not go through all the details. There are links to the request naming rules API, which you can leverage. But there is on the bottom, there is also the Monaco project you can download and deploy to your environment. So now we go to the Monaco project, and we can deploy so we can deploy the project generic REST. So we can deploy it into our demo environment. So it's the downloaded project. You can see it's deploying the project to the environment, and we can check it directly into settings. When you go to settings, you go to the global request naming, and you can see there are some new rules here. And you can see there are two rules about two naming rules, and you can see just some conditions. Okay, so these rules will be applied if the URL contains a number, a slash, and a number, and also if the service is tagged by some tag. So we have the rule set, but we also want to set up some conditions. We don't want to apply this globally and onto each request in our Dynatrace environment. So when we go back, you can already see we have a tag a condition. Tag should be named REST ID. So when we go back to our service, so we can just apply a tag here, for example, REST ID. You can edit tag either manually, or you can also do some automatic tagging, so some auto tag rules according to your needs. So whenever Dynatrace sees this REST ID tag here, you can also modify the name of the tag into the Monaco project. Then Dynatrace will apply those global request naming rules. You can also preview those rules if they will be applied in the settings and in the web request naming. So, for example, you can see we have no local rules defined. We have no rules defined on this particular service, but we have the global rules applied here. So they will be applied, and we will see that, I hope, in a moment. It will take a few minutes for Dynatrace to process it, but we should be able to see it in a minute or so. So I will, in the meantime, it takes, for example, up to 5 minutes to get this applied. In the meantime, I will continue this my presentation. I will check it back in a moment.
I really, Julius, thank you so much for doing this. I really like that you are giving a couple of advices here. It's that you are automatically generating the rules, but then also while they're global rules, you also come up with the best practice of applying those rules only if you have certain tags on your services, which means you give the power back to whoever owns these services to take the services correctly, and then say, hey, I'm a service that wants to take the leverage the global REST rules, and only if that tag is on there will these rules be applied. And that's two great things. Also, you have Monaco in there, monitoring is called. We will make sure that all of the links that you have, especially to your community blog posts, will be part of the summary of that video. So folks, if you're watching this and you want to know the link, just go down to the description of the video and we'll post the link there.
Yeah, sure. So you always want to make sure that those rules are not really applied globally to all your environments. You can mess a lot of things just applying some global rule without any conditions. So because it can really mess up an existing environment. So, but luckily you can just then delete those rules and you are good to go. But you will just lose maybe some data, some precision in that. So does it make sense, Andy, this one?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and thank you so much. And as you said, go on with the next demo. I know you have some load running in the back, and it will take a while until enough load is here. And so let's go back and then.
Yeah, okay. So we'll just jump straight into the second topic. It's about RUM troubleshooting. It's about RUM troubleshooting for web applications. Yeah, I've seen the previous community tips, and this one will be somehow more deep in the detail, because Danny showed us something about the RUM and getting the web applications rules. But this one will be about the injection of the JavaScript, how you can diagnose it by yourself, or what can you do. With the reuser monitoring for web applications, the reuser monitoring is a complex topic. It's complicated how it's done because the web applications are really different. Each application is different, built and deployed differently. So there are many things to consider. And sometimes the automation is pretty awesome. You can just deploy Dynatrace and it's always set up automatically, but sometimes it's not the case and you need to diagnose it by yourself. With Dynatrace reuser monitoring for web applications, there are two important areas, because the RUM works for web applications the way that Dynatrace will inject some JavaScript library into your application automatically. That's the best practice. But you can also inject that manually by yourself, for example, in your application manually, or in your pages manually, or in your deployment. But the automatic injection is better for several reasons. For details, you can go to the help page of Dynatrace, and there are pretty good comparisons of the injection types. But I always recommend using automatic injection where possible. And the second important area is about receiving the data back. So the one thing is about getting the library, so you can just collect the user telemetry data, and then it's about getting the data back into Dynatrace. So what you can do about the injection status, how can you diagnose? If, for example, you deploy Dynatrace one agent on your web servers, application servers, or your stack, then Dynatrace will, in the default setting, try to inject this stack. And if it works, then you are good to go. You can just fine tune your user naming rules and all the other settings you want to set. But if you have no data, you need to diagnose. So first, the script tag of the RUM JavaScript must be injected in HTML produced by your application. If this automatic injection does not happen, it can have very different reasons for that. Luckily, there is a check you can do by yourself, and you can use the DT health check user agent name to get the status of your injection. So if you are doing this, for example, using the curl command, so in this example, or you can use your browser also. In the developer options, you can easily change your user agent string to this specific DT health check. And then what the Dynatrace will do, that each agent in the stack will then add some response headers into the response. So you just need to check the response of your application if there are those headers, and those headers have some meaning, of course. The most important header I use typically is the XDT health check, and it means the injection status. So this header is injected by each agent in your application stack. So if you have, for example, a web server, a reverse proxy, and then an application server, if each of those is running one agent, then you will see one response header for each component. So, for example, you can see the OK response. That means everything is set up. I injected the JavaScript. You may see some others. So, for example, the OK but percentage means you have some cost control defined on your application, and Dynatrace will inject. And maybe you have capturing off conf. So it means you have this disabled the capturing. You have actually disabled the application in Dynatrace, so Dynatrace will not inject any JavaScript because you have the application itself disabled. And also one important one is the already injected header found. It means an agent previously on the path when the request is coming in already injected the JavaScript, and the agent which one is putting the header will not inject it twice. So, and you have also some IDs there, and those IDs mean the IDs of the code modules. It's pretty not something you can troubleshoot by yourself, but it means the ID of the agent. So you can just then see which agent already injected the header, for example. Also, there is the XDT agent ID, and it's the path of the agents on the request. So you can see on the request to the HTML or how it was processed and which of the agents touch actually this request. And there is also some pretty self-explaining one, is the one agent JavaScript injection. So if the injection is configured to happen. So if those headers are not present and you are pretty sure you set the user agent to this string, so that typically means your processes are not monitored by one agent, or the RUM sensor is disabled. There are also some settings. You can disable the injection, for example, on some technologies, because maybe it's going to interfere with some code. But if they are not present, you need to investigate deeper or contact Dynatrace 1. So when the script tag is injected, and I think I've seen this similar slide also in Danny's presentation. What you want to check is, of course, the script tag itself, and then you want to also check the URL of the JavaScript. Sometimes, and it's worth mentioning, there are some reverse proxies, for example, in the path, which will modify the context, the URL context. And sometimes you are not able to download from the browser the JavaScript. The user is not able to download it because there is some invalid mapping on the path. So you can then go to advanced settings of your web application, and you can change the path, so the proper path will be injected into your code of the HTML from your application. And what you want to check is the application ID. Also, this is the same ID you can see in Dynatrace. And what's also important to check if the beacon URL is reachable. The beacon URL is then the endpoint to which this RUM JavaScript will send the data back. So also this one needs to be reachable from the browser of the user, and it has to respond, of course. And also worth mentioning is, if you are still not seeing data from your users, but you can see from yours, also check if the users are not using some browsers with ad blocking extensions. Some of the ad blockers are configured the way they will prevent Dynatrace RUM JavaScript from being injected into the application. So you can then see it, for example, in the developer options, like on this screenshot. So you can see blocked. It means the browser itself blocked downloading or injecting the JavaScript. The script tag will be there, but the browser is prevented from downloading the RUM code. And the third tip is about checking the beacon URL here. So the beacon, as I said, is the endpoint which receives the data from the JavaScript processed or executed in the user's browser. And the endpoint has to respond with HTTP status 200 when just accessed, for example, here. But you need to keep in mind that the RUM sensor works only for real browsers. So if you are trying that using CURL, you are not using browser's user agent, you are using the CURL, then it will not respond with 200, for example. Or you can also use the DT health check. And you can see, okay, that means there is one agent, there is some configuration missing. That's okay, because we are not trying to replicate the behavior of the real user monitoring script. So some other tips about troubleshooting RUM. If the injection itself of the script tag does not work, you can check no health check response headers. Then you may want to check if all the processes were restarted. Sometimes it's pretty common that sometimes the run works, sometimes not, and typically it's the case that some of the processes have not been restarted, or the RAM sensors have been disabled on some of them. Or maybe the application stack itself is not using technology that supports automatic injection. There are only some of those web servers and application servers support automatic injection. For the others, you then need to inject your script tag by different means. So, and one I also encountered is then check if you have the demo units left in your license. If you don't have any demo units left, then Dynatrace will not inject any script tag, and also not provide you with DT health check response headers. Sometimes I also encounter some examples when everything looks fine, but the RAM sensor is unable injecting, because a common example is the ZK framework. When this framework is a Java framework and it's already producing some compressed output of the HTML, and the RAM sensor is unable to inject. So you can check that with the request header or accept encoding none. So in this case, the request will say, okay, I will not accept any compression, so send me the point request. And if the script tag will be injected, then okay, you need to, for example, work with your application, somehow configure it not to produce any compressed framework. For example, in this case for ZK, there is a setting to disable the compression, and then Dynatrace will automatically inject the RAM code of the script tag. And also keep your mind your deployment and the request flow. That means you have typically multiple components in your path. When typically web application consists of multiple layers, some web servers, maybe some application servers, and the run JavaScript is injected on the deepest monitored process. That means, for example, typically an application server producing the HTML, and then it's served back for the user using some web servers and reverse proxies. There is the script tag is already injected, so it's the issues probably with injection are on the deepest monitored process. And also the beacons are collected on a first process with one agent. That's typically the first one in the path. So when the beacons are received by the web servers, they are processed there, collected by the one agent, and sent to your Dynatrace cluster. I set up a community post about these details, about how using how you can use the DT health check. So you can also go to this page and check it by yourself. But I will show you some demo. Let's first check if we are here okay with this. And you can see already here, maybe we can make this time frame a little shorter. So let's go back to the REST naming, and you can see I have only one request name here, and it says employees ID. As you can see, the IDs are removed. So, but you can still, for example, if you can still see the URLs, of course, they won't be removed. And for example, if you see distributed traces, you can see the URLs are still there, but the request is the same. We remove the IDs. We have the proper naming rule. We don't want to have, we don't want to set up a rule on each service. We just did it automatically with some tagging. So we can see the first tip works, and so you can really try it by yourself if you need this case.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have expected anything else other than it works, but great that we see it.
Yeah. Okay, so about the second tip, there are some RUM injection tip, and there are some these cases I already mentioned about what can you check by yourself. If all of this fails, then you can like easily go to Dynatrace support and open a support case, because each environment is somehow special. So the health check. I have also set up another web application here on this on the same host. I will go. This is not really important to see the details, but you can see we have some other Spring Boot running. It's one other demo application about the pet cleaning application, and I have also one web server serving as a reverse proxy. If you go there on the web request service, then right now we have no traffic here, but you can see there is one application of availability cleaning demo, and it's flowing through this, for example, reverse proxy. So let's open this demo application, generate some traffic, for example, so we can see them this the same way in Dynatrace. But in the meantime, let's go back and use the DT health check. I will just make this a little bit bigger. So what did we actually do? We triggered a web request to this application with a user agent called DT health check. That's important. And we want to see the response headers. So I have put a -v for verbose output of those headers, and we grab it for Ruxid agent. Ruxid agent is the name of the RUM agent of the Dynatrace one agent. So what can we see here, except the common headers? It's, for example, the DT health check. Okay, so some one agent injected. We can see also the already injected header found. So we can see another agent touched the request and already saw that someone before injected the script tag. So I'm not going to inject anymore. So you can see also the one agent JS injection. So you can see we are good. And also we can see the script tag here. So we have the context. We have for example, one worth noticing here is you can see also the version of the one agent JavaScript here. It's 247 in this case. And also the important is the beacon URL and the application. These are, I think, the three most important configurations here. We can see the FC for A beginning, so we can go to the application. You can see it here in the hash string in the URL FC4A, for example. So this is about checking the injection itself. And if we go to the URL of the beacon, so you can see we are receiving 200 okay, so this is okay. And we have a response of way, probably means one agent are missing because we are just triggering a simple get request. We are not putting any data there. If I, for example, remove the user agent DT health check, sometimes you can see then pretty different output. If you don't receive anything, for example, then you will maybe you are not triggering that with the DT health check. So does it make sense to you, Andy?
Yeah, quite a lot actually, and I was not aware of the DT health check user agent string. So thank you for letting me know about this. It just shows me that the product by now has gone and grown so big that it's really important that we have people like you that then give us the insights on the individual areas. So I think that's really good. I also had one more thing that I ran into a while ago is with CDNs. So that means if you are injecting, if you have the one agent installed and you expect the injection to happen, but maybe if your CDN still has your old version cached, or it can just take a while and still until the CDN basically refreshes the content from origin. So this is something that I've noticed, or just to keep in mind. But thank you so much for all the troubleshooting tips, because this will help you troubleshoot the basic things. And then, right, as you said, if all of this still fails, you then always just contact our Dynatrace team.
Exactly, because this is a simple health check. You can do it by yourself and prior to contact the Dynatrace one, because it takes them some time to for the team to analyze the situation, and at your side, maybe sometimes they don't have access to the application itself. It's really different. It takes a lot of time. You will save your time and also their time. So it's really good to troubleshoot it on your side if it's possible, of course. But sometimes even people like me are reaching to Dynatrace one because we are just you're still limited.
Yeah.
There are some internal issues, for example. It's best to contact the support if you don't want to.
Exactly. Yeah. So one more to go, huh? One more tip.
Yeah, sure. One more tip. It's about validating the PDFs in synthetics. Yeah, and what is about? The synthetic process monitors are probably quite common across Dynatrace users, and they can typically validate only the page content. So that means you are triggering a synthetic test in your browsers, maybe triggered from your private location or from public location, but you can only validate the content on the web page itself. But some applications are producing PDFs, some, for example, reports, for example, statement reports from your bank account or something like that. And we want to make sure our application is producing the PDF output, and also we want to validate if the expected content is the PDF. This is quite a common requirement because, we want to know the application is really working. And since you don't interact with the native application, so there's Acrobat on the synthetic host, and you can't do that. You can't doing that. So we need to check it in our browser. We want to check the PDF if it's valid, and if the application is behaving as expected. So the solution here is about using JavaScript synthetic event in the browser monitor. The synthetic event in the browser monitor is a piece of JavaScript code that gets executed in your synthetic browser monitor, and you can actually write any code of your need you want to execute in the browser that is executing actually the test of your application. And we will use the PDF.js library to actually load and manipulate the PDF document, and then we will use the browser monitor API. The browser monitors do have some API what you can call from the JavaScript synthetic event, so you can then push back the results, or for example, mark the test as failed if something goes wrong, and if, for example, you don't see the content as you expect in the PDF, or you are not able even to download the PDF, and etc. So there is also a link to the community post. This one is pretty new. I only put it on the community yesterday, so you can check it by yourself. So I will just go here through how this script works, and then we can see it in the environment itself. So first we want to do is to inject the library itself. So we need to create the JavaScript event and use some JavaScript code in there. But first we need to make sure that Dynatrace will wait for the script to finish, and actually until some API call is triggered by our script. And so we will tell Dynatrace to start an async event and just wait for the API call to finish our code. Then we will inject the JavaScript tag into our application. Actually, we are, as you can see, we are creating an HTML element, a script element. We are setting the source of the script. It's the distribution of the PDF.js library, and we set the ID of the script, and we will just insert the tag into our application. Actually, in this step, we are typically in our application, we have our application open, and we will just inject another JavaScript. And, just be careful that some of the application have some protections, such as content security policies that, for example, they may not allow you to do that. But you can turn off such policies in your settings of the browser's monitor, because of course the web application need to have some protection about injecting some other code into the code of the application itself. So if this doesn't work for you, for example, check your settings of the browser monitor, and maybe you need to turn off the CSP violations. Then what we need to do is to wait for the library to load. It's a simple, yeah, we will wait. We will create an event listener for loading the library, and we will wait for the library to load. That's a very simple code of loading a third-party library into your browser's monitor. You can use that for example, for another JavaScript library you want to use in your browser's monitor. Then we will leverage the PDF.js, and we are going to open the PDF itself. So first, what we need to go is the URL of our document. For example, here I have I'm looking for the PDF link, and I will extract the URL from that element. In this case, I'm searching by element ID, PDF link, and then I will use the PDF.js to load the document. It would take some time, so we are using now JavaScript promises about, okay, when the library loads the PDF, we are executing this code, and if the loading fails for some reason, because the PDF is not there or something other happened, we want to make sure our browser monitor will fail. So we can fail with the reason, okay, could not open PDF, for example, access denied or something like that. So you can also see some errors then in your browser's monitors with the meaning while the loading of the PDF failed. And we want to actually validate the content of the PDF itself. So we will be using the PDF.js API actually to get the PDF page. In this example, we are fetching the first page. Also, you can see this JavaScript promise. And when the PDF.js loads this first page, then it will just put also some info for our debugging purposes about, okay, it loaded the page. And we will construct the text, because the PDF.js allows you with working with the individual elements of the PDF page, but we need to construct and concatenate the string of the whole page. So we are looping through the text items, and we will just construct a big string from the first page, and we will just then check if the string from the first page includes the string, in this example, hello. And if it's there, then we will just end this step with API finish. That means all is fine. We found the text, the validation is okay. And if the text is not there, we just fail with validation error. So text is not present in the PDF. So this is really a very simple example how you can actually use a third-party library in your browser's monitor. And you can just load the PDF, check its content, and then push the results back for Dynatrace, so you can then validate if the output is as you expect or not. So does it make sense for you?
Yeah, and for me, again, it's mind-boggling that you come up with these cool things, because basically what you're telling me is that the synthetic browser that we are running, or the browser that we are hosting for synthetic testing, you can actually provide some JavaScript that then runs within that synthetic test browser. And obviously then you're completely open to do whatever you want with JavaScript, like loading a powerful library like the PDF parser, and then you are using that library to download the PDF, convert it into text, and then validate if content is there. So and with this, you open up new ideas, because there's so many libraries out there that I'm sure you can use to validate things within that browser. Yeah, that's really, really powerful.
Yes, exactly. This is about like really extending your browser's monitor. It opens up a lot of more choices about validating, etc. So I will go through the click path. You can see a simple PDF check. So we are loading a homepage. In this case, this is not important step. We just go to log into our application, and this is the important part. So on the community page, there is actually the same example as I just showed. So you can just paste it and modify it according to your needs. So as you can see, it's just this one, nothing else. But sometimes you may run into some conditions when the application itself prevents you from loading a third-party library. In this case, you might want to, for example, bypass the content security policies here. Yeah, that's just worth mentioning, because sometimes you might find yourself, okay, it works, for example, in my lab, it doesn't work on the public location, etc. And it's hard to, sometimes it's pretty difficult to debug. So let's try back playing the click path. So we can see it's the really simple page here. We have a PDF link there, and
now basically your JavaScript gets injected into that browser.
Yes.
And this is the...
Yes, we can, if you go there to the script, you can see some API info calls. And these info calls means, okay, we are putting back some information for you, and you can see that in the playback. So, for example, you can see that on the fourth event, we have library loaded. We are okay. We were successfully loading the PDF.js library. Then we are downloading the PDF document. This is very good for example, for troubleshooting the execution of the PDF check. And see the PDF is loaded. We loaded the first page from the PDF, and the text on the page was hello world. So we validated. We have validated that, for example, we can do some modification. I'm pretty sure that this one is not there. We can play it once more, and you'll then see that the test will fail because the content is not there. Now it's loading the PDF.js. And you can see if I play the validation error text is not present in the PDF. You can just modify the JavaScript code by your needs, and maybe return some other string.
That's super powerful. I didn't know also about the API object that you get here, so you can actually communicate back with the Dynatrace synthetic interface. That's great. Julius, these were 3 amazing tips and tricks. The RUM troubleshooting for me was really eye-opening, that we have the TT health check. That's great. This one, again, I've always been promoting synthetic, because I think synthetic, while it is in general a very simple concept, it opens up a lot of powerful things, right? You can run things on a schedule. You can do validations, obviously, and now you've shown us that you can load these JavaScript libraries even into the browser, and that opens up so many possibilities. Yeah, that's awesome. Do me one more last favor. Go to the last slide. I think there's one more slide in there. Julius, thank you so much for being such a great member of the community and willing to share this back with the community. I hope that everybody that is listening, and you ever have a chance to see Julius either in real life or somewhere on a virtual community platform, give him a shout out. Thank you so much. And I hope I have you back, because I'm pretty sure you have more tips and tricks that you use on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks, and I hope I have. So let's continue this tips from the community.
Exactly. And then, folks, if you're listening to this, you can easily jump between the three sections in the time frame window. Also, this is available both on YouTube as well as on Dynatrace University. And here's the challenge for you: if you have tips and tricks, so I'm pretty sure you're also expert Dynatrace user, just let me know. And I'm also very happy to get you on one of my next shows. With this, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.